Chapter 20. Disaster for Dessert. I was physically present for everything that happened next, but it was as though I had fallen into a swimming pool and all of the action was taking place on dry land. I saw, but everything was blurred. I heard, but everything was muffled. David put a napkin to his neck to staunch the blood. Amelia ran to his aid. Sally, seeing my face, fetched bandages and other first aid materials from the bathroom and got David tidied up. Grant gathered coats and went for the car. Then we were in the hall at the top of the stairway making our goodbyes, but I was still under water as I exchanged hugs and kisses and so sorries. I didn't surface until the bedroom door opened and Shadow emerged, a man again. "You're not leaving?" he asked the assembled family, as though he'd heard none of the ruckus. He looked at me for an explanation, but David replied, "Oh yes, we're leaving and never returning until that cat is dealt with. Where is he?" "In the closet," Shadow said. "He seems quite distressed." "He's distressed?" I thought David might push past Shadow into the bedroom, but Grant and Amelia took his arms. "And where were you all this time?" David said. "Here, of course," Shadow said, gesturing toward the bedroom. "I had to make a call. That was in the script, too. An excuse he could make if he needed to get away for a bit. Too bad he hadn't thought of it earlier." "Let's be on our way," Grant said. "Lovely dinner, Alice." I followed them down the stairs to lock the door behind them. At the bottom, Sally turned to me, took my hand, and looked into my eyes. "Will you be safe here tonight?" I supposed I must have looked shocked. "You must see how it is with this man," she said, every syllable distinct. "He needs professional help. And so do you if you go forward with this. I have no idea what he did to Shadow to make him attack, but if you're not worried about yourself, you should at least be worried about your beloved cat." I just nodded. She kissed my cheek. "We have to talk. Tomorrow." "Of course," I said. I closed the door and leaned against it for a while. Then, hearing noises in the kitchen, I made my way back upstairs. Shadow had changed into a sweatsuit and was cleaning up. I brought the rest of the dirty dishes from the dining room, blew out the candles, checked the tablecloth for stains, folded it, put the unused silver and dessert dishes away, along with the small glasses I had planned to use for liquor as we gathered around the fire after dinner. That was such a long sentence. God damn. There was some leftover food, which I wrapped loosely in foil and stashed in the refrigerator. I went into the bathroom to change. When I came to the bedroom door again, Shadow was in the hall, the man of my dreams teetering at the edge of nightmare. "You're angry." "Not at all," I said, walking past him into the living room. "Why, all you did was ruin a dinner party I had looked forward to, make a fool of yourself in front of my family and friends, and assault my ex-husband. Why would I be angry?" My voice kept rising as I spoke. "I dislike it when people say things they don't mean. You call it by fancy names, and you seem to think it's terribly sophisticated. I would prefer for you to just say what you mean." "All right," I said. "You knew that this was a very important evening for me. You knew I wanted you to like my family and vice versa, and I told you over and over and over that people will never believe you are really a cat. At least you didn't tell them that. But you seem to have told them everything else." He nodded. "I agree. I said many things that I should not have said." Some of the heat went out of me. "Then why did you?" "I suppose I was hoping I could be myself with your family, even if I couldn't be a cat." "I see that I was wrong." He sighed. "People are so smug, David in particular. You all think you're just the greatest, smartest, most powerful things ever to have lived. I find that annoying as well as dead wrong." He took my hand and led me to the couch. The fire was mostly ashes. "When I started out, I thought I would just mention one or two things. I didn't mean to go so far. But then everyone was laughing, as you say. They saw me as a fool. And when he said that horrible thing, skin a cat, my God, what did you think I would do? Anyway, I didn't have much control over the rest. I barely made it back to the room before I felt myself changing. If I hadn't opened the door, hadn't let me out, if you hadn't opened the door, let me out, it might have been all right." Of course it's not your fault, and I suppose you are sorry. And I don't suppose you're sorry, I said, summing it up. Why would I be sorry? He said an awful thing. I got angry. Now it's over. I hope so, I said. But I'm not all that sure. With the morning, the extent of the damage became evident. The doorbell rang, not much after 9 a.m. When it rang the second time, I decided I'd best see who it was, and of course, it was David. I buzzed him through the outer gate in the entryway and closed the apartment door behind me, not knowing where Shadow was or what shape he was in. I was hoping for some coffee, David said. Fine, I replied. The nearest coffee is at 8th and California. Come with me. Like this? I said, my mouth still full of overnight gumminess, my hair askew, my body full of yesterday's smells. I don't think so. How do you feel this morning? The scratches are quite deep, David said. The doctor says I may have scars. And of course, he bit me. The doctor, I said, my empty stomach going queasy. Did you really have to? All right. I'm glad you had someone look at the scratches. I'd be happy to pay the doctor's bills. I think you'll be all right in time, though. Has scratched and nipped at me on occasion, and I've never had any lasting injury. You don't seem to take this very seriously, David said. I might have cat scratch fever. That can be a dangerous infection, even fatal. Cat scratch fever sounded like something David might have made up. But you never know. Well, I didn't know that, I said, with honest regret in my voice, but only anxiety in my heart. But the bite could be more dangerous. The way he behaved, Shadow could be rabid. Oh, please, David, he gets all of his shots. I don't know about this fever, but I'm sure you don't have to worry about rabies. We'll see, he said, with an irritating smugness. You'll be hearing from animal control, and they'll decide. What? I hollered in alarm. You made an official report of this? How could you do such a thing, David? My downstairs neighbor came to the door and opened it a crack. Is that you, Alice? What's going on? I'm sorry, I told her, although I wasn't. I've lost count of the amount of times I've been wakened in the middle of the night when Lola, so it was Lola, when Lola has come loudly back from some party or other. We'll be done soon. The door closed. Why on earth wouldn't they just say it was Lola? It is assumed that she has multiple neighbors. You cannot just assume I know which neighbor she's talking about. God damn. Why did you make a report about this? I asked more quietly. Shadow makes regular visits to the vet. He has all of his shots. He's a healthy cat. David was shaking his head. None of that really matters, but in any case, I didn't make the report. The doctor did. He said it was mandatory. My God. He gave me a moment to struggle with this new reality. What will they do? If this is his first reported assault, David said, as if Shadow routinely attacked dinner guests, they'll probably just give you a warning. At least, that's what the doctor says. They'll probably want to see the evidence that his shots are in order. They can put him in quarantine. But they probably won't if you promise to keep him confined. My God. You have to do something about that cat, David said, putting his arm around my shoulders. Get rid of him, I'd say. Give him away or put him to sleep. But if you keep him, you'll have to confine him. Another house guest might sue. I stood. I'll talk to Sam about this, I said. It's your cat. Yes, but he and Shadow have become quite attached, I said. Anyway, I'm cold. I'm going in now. I turned to David and hugged him. I'm sorry he hurt you, and I owe you for letting me know about this. I'd been pretty upset if animal control just turned up at my door. David kissed me on the cheek. Think about what I said. I closed the door behind me and waited for the bang of the closing gate. Then I sat down on the steps and let the tears come. I might have cried all morning, but the phone rang. 4 times my voicemail picked up the call, and 4 times the phone rang again after the small interval. The 5th time, I picked it up. Alice! Thank goodness! I was beginning to wonder if you were all right. After I left last night, I thought Maybe I should have stayed. It was Sally. Why? I never asked guests to help clean up. It wasn't the cleaning up I was worried about. It was Sam. You said his delusion was a misunderstanding, but I don't think I misunderstood. I didn't have the strength to argue. As we talked, I was searching through the apartment. As near as I could tell, Shadow wasn't home. The keys I had made from him were not. What? The keys I had made from him were not on the shelf. Interesting. So you have cat keys made of cat bone. Some would say it's as strong as steel. Anyway, he's gone. For good? Who knows? We talked a little last night. He didn't sleep in our bed. He must have gone out during the night or early this morning. He wasn't here when David came by at 9. How's David? He went to a doctor. The doctor made a report to animal control. They might take action against Shadow. Well, someone should take action against Sam, too, Sally said. Just in case you weren't listening that last night, I have to repeat. Someone must have hurt Shadow or scared him very badly to make him attack like that. He's always been such a mellow little character. How has Sally not put together? Oh my god, okay. I winced at the truth of what she said. Actually, Shadow has never attacked David, has never liked David, and vice versa. Oh, Alice, Shadow is just a cat. He has no reason to attack David last night. They weren't even in the same room. Sam was the one who had a reason to attack David. Ah, I said. So you think the attack was justified? In Sam's mind, I'm sure. My God, Alice, does he always go on like that about cats and how great they are and how they turn into men and advise world leaders? That's really heavy stuff. I was waiting for him to tell everybody he was a cat himself, but apparently that's a revelation he shares only with you. I suppose. I sighed. I shouldn't have had the party. It was too difficult for him. Too difficult for him to meet your closest friends and make polite conversation for one evening, Alice? He's nuts. You don't like that word. You've always said it's unprofessional and meaningless. I'm not talking as a professional right now, but I swear, Alice, I will do something about this professionally if you don't get rid of him. What can you do? There's a mental health agency in this county. I can make a report. I can call the Chronicle and tell them I know the guy they've been writing about. You wouldn't do that. I love you, Alice, but I just might. Think about what I've said. Everybody was telling me what to think. So, of course, I went to sleep. When I woke on the couch, the sky was nearly dark. A blanket I didn't remember reaching for was draped over me. A fire I was sure I hadn't lit was in the grates. Shadow? There was no reply. There seemed to be a light on in the dining room, but when I got to the doorway, I saw that it was his laptop open and turned on. Shadow? There was no reply. As I approached the laptop, I saw that Shadow's keys were on the table beside it. Then I noticed the typing. I sat down, took a deep breath, and began to read. My love, I wanted so much to be with you as a man, to walk the world with you and share everything with you. I see now that this was too much to ask. I cannot be the kind of man who belongs in your world, and your world has a place for me only as a cat. Always your Shadow. Maybe if I hadn't cried so much earlier, I might have found tears, but none came. It seemed to me at that moment that his decision might be the most sensible one. The world was closing in on him. Sally was after the man, and David was after the cat. It would be easier, I thought, to protect the cat. He had his shots. The vet, I was sure, would give him a clean report. I made a cup of tea and took it back into the living room. I felt the slight weight of his front paws on the cushion behind me. His eyes were wide with concern, and his cat chatter seemed to ask how I was. I'm fine, Shadow, I said. Come join me. I patted the cushion beside me, and he hesitated only the briefest moment before he jumped up. At first he stood on the couch next to me. My hand found comfort in his fur, untouched for so many weeks now. He walked back and forth, inviting me to scratch and smooth all of him. It seemed to me how he was relishing this, and I found that I was too. I had missed the cat, but I knew I would miss the man as well. Eventually he settled beside me, his front paws and his head resting on my lap. My hand came to rest across my back. Usually he wouldn't bear the weight of a hand for long before moving on, but tonight he didn't seem to mind. "It's much easier, isn't it?" I said. "A woman and her cat."